Hello, friends. I want to tell you a story today, and I call it the Baby Bobcat story. It's a great look into the mind. So a few weeks ago, I went to a place for a couple days, and took some time away from computer and all devices, pretty much. And I was in kind of the San Diego countryside area, which is really cool. Beautiful mountains there and everything. And so it was this very rural area, and I was walking, just exploring the area and walking on this dirt road that's about 3 miles long. And there's nothing, there's not nothing. There's no buildings around, certainly. It's just wilderness, just rock and brush and a few trees, and it was really beautiful along this 3-mile dirt road. And there was only, on my way down, there was only one car that passed me. And so the first time I went down, I walked a little bit, and I was doing a jog, so I jogged a little bit too. And I felt like really great. This looks so beautiful, and I'm just enjoying it. And so I do that on the 3 mile, and then I turn around and I start coming back. And part way, maybe less than a third into the way back, there's a car that pulls up, and the fellow stops his car and says to me, there's a baby bobcat just a little ways back. And I said, really? I had this surprise feeling, really? He said, yeah. And then he just rolled up the window and went right along. And so right there and then, immediately in my mind, oh my goodness, baby bobcat. And so, I don't know if the first thought was cuteness or fear. I can't remember which one. I had both, and I don't remember which one came first. But I was like, maybe the first thought was something like, do I want to see the baby bobcat? Am I hoping that it is there or not? And I was imagining oh my goodness, this is baby bobcat. He said, this could be so cute. And then I was thinking, if there's baby bobcat, there's probably mama bobcat pretty close. I don't know that much about bobcats. Should I be afraid of them? And, and then I noticed the mind, and I'm like, wait a moment, nothing has changed, right? I've just been told a story. And I don't know how accurate this information is or not. So I have a moment where I actually kind of recognize, wait a second, and I had just been in this, I was just very present, not thinking much, just kind of looking around and noticing what was there and enjoying it. And I started to kind of pull away from the surroundings and think these things and, kind of look around with my eyes a little more. And then I caught that. I said, wait a second. Let me watch the thoughts. So, okay, I'm watching the thoughts. One thought is, I kind of want to see this baby bobcat. It sounds really cool and really cute. And then another is oh, this sounds scary. So what happens, right? So I start to notice the mind, and then I start thinking, this is so interesting, right? So I'm a meta on top of it. I'm noticing the fear-based mind. This is an interesting, fascinating, in this moment when this is happening. And there still could be the bobcat around or not, or right? I'm still in the moment of it. And then I walk by this, there's a little bit ahead, there's a tree that has some shade and has a lot of brush around the bottom of it, and you can't really see much there because it's really shady. And I hear, and I think, oh yeah, I didn't have my contacts in, so I couldn't see that well. So I was also thinking, ooh, like, I couldn't see as clearly. So it's like, I wonder if I would even see it and then I was also thinking, well, a little ways back for him in a car is a different distance for me. And I said, wait a minute, is that even true? Or if it is true, will I see it? Anyway, right? All the thoughts. So I see the tree and I hear some commotion in it, and it sounds like birds. So I'm like, okay. So I'm also just noticing how I'm noticing the world much differently, right? From having heard the story than before, the way I was noticing little sounds going by, which was like, oh, cute, little animals, little birds, right? I took it very differently. So I'm like, okay, I think it's just birds. And then I slow down a little bit, and then I hear this sound that sounds like, and that, and so right away, I get a surge of adrenaline coming through me, and I start to move more quickly. And then I was like, I could run, and then I'm like, wait a minute, if it's a bobcat, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to run. If it's a cat, and I'm so like my mind's going and thinking, I was like, wait, so just like very quickly, and I was like, wait, did I really hear that? And I'm like, so I kind of slowed down and I listen, and I hear the sound. I'm like, oh, I like, there, that might have been the bobcat right there. And then I'm like, am I hearing things? Is that for real? I really thought I heard it twice. So I keep walking. I get back to the place I'm staying, and I'm still wondering. I'm like, am I going to ever encounter this creature? This was the first day I was there out of 4 days. So then there's this fascinating thing that happens, of course, which is the next day. There's something that's like, do I want to walk that same way again? I'm like, yes, I'm going to walk that same way. I'm not going to let the story deter me, but I have a little bit more of an alertness. So, but I actually decided to explore a different route first and then go back. So I turned down this other dirt road, and I'm walking, and then I go off the beaten path, and I'm, well, it's not that beaten of a path, it's a dirt road. And I'm like I'm in just kind of the wilderness area. There was a fence, but then there was a clearing, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go in there, right? And then I kind of hear that sound again. And I'm like, oh, like, is that something? Is that, it's similar sound? It's like, is that the same? Or anyway. So now I've heard something that sounds kind of similar twice in two different places. So now I'm starting to wonder. And I talked with the person who's hosting me, and I said, the guy said there was a baby bobcat on that road, and he was like, and I said, was he pulling my leg? And he said, well, you can bring a stick. I'm like, I don't know what to believe, right? And what's so wild is, so the very last day that I'm there, I go into the area behind the place where I'm staying, these people's, their home. They have a lot of space and these rocks, but it's enclosed. And I go, and I kind of climb on the rocks, and I'm sitting there. And then I hear the sound again. And I turn and I look. And it's a hummingbird. It's a hummingbird. It's like one of my favorite creatures in the world. They're like amazing. And I just start erupting in laughter because I'm like, oh my goodness, it's a hummingbird, So who knows what's the case with the baby bobcat or not. I never did see a baby bobcat while I was there. I didn't have my contacts on that first day, so it's possible it was there and I didn't see it. But yeah, thought you would enjoy that story, just as a reflection of what happens with the stories, some of the stories we get. And it's just fascinating to look at. So, all right, till next time.